what gets them excited? What gets them energized? What gets that employee excited to come to work? It's tapping into those things and providing that feedback on an ongoing basis, on a regular basis. Could be through a monthly one-on-one. It could be, in group sessions, acknowledge in a group meeting, a group Zoom call, how someone is doing.
Hi and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Zia at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for Human Capital Management that's specifically built for crafted employee experience and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 200,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. In today's interview, we speak with Jeffrey Robinson, who offers his services as a human resources executive and uses leadership as well as innovation to drive change, engagement, and achievement in companies. His focus has always been on striving to build organizational capacity and effectiveness while creating a thriving culture. As an executive coach and consultant, he works with executives in companies in areas that impact their workplace and life, including communication, performance, management, and decision making. So welcome, Jeffrey. We're thrilled to have the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's just get into it. So my first question to you is, Jeffrey, you've mentioned that you use an HR toolkit to drive change and create one standardized culture when it comes to mind. Could you speak more about your approach?
So the HR toolkit are all the things inside of a traditional, if you will, human resources organization that they have absolute involvement and connection with and oversight over. And that could be training and development, it's compensation, it's employee relations, it's benefits, it's all of the things inside there that you can use to drive culture and impact culture inside of an organization. And there should never be doubt that any one of those things has an impact. Even the benefits that we offer, our decisions to where we want to pay in the marketplace are all part and parcel of our culture and make up or reflect our culture or stabilize, provide a platform for our culture. So understanding what's inside the toolkit, the basic approach is to bring technology to bear in all of those areas, as many areas of those as you can. Technology platforms help you stabilize those areas and provide a solid platform for all to use on the same off the same or off the same technology that gets everyone focused, gets everyone in a focused place to be able to drive in that area. Once you bring that technology to bear, then it's about unleashing HR professionals to work with managers in a way that drives performance, that focuses on performance, that focuses on everything from job design to goal setting. Ultimately, the rubber meets the road for HR is in those relationships of people, one-to-one, manager to employee, and organizations are most judged by those people who manage people, and our ability as HR professionals to drive performance in managers is probably top of the list of things we do.
I love that. I love that, there's an element of technology in there just because it's become so imperative to, consider that aspect as well. Like you identify all these different areas, but I think technology is such a key factor in, the future and revolutionizing the future really. And that's, also why I believe so much in what peopleHum is and what it stands for, because it takes HR, but it kind of brings in the technological aspect as well.
Yeah,
So
no doubt. It's a great equalizer because if we can get everyone on the same platforms, everyone using the same technologies, everybody reporting through the same technologies, we have richer data. Richer data enables us to make better decisions.
absolutely. So I love that. And let's move on to my next question, which focuses a little bit more on challenges and disruption. So I see that you're very passionate about helping people grow stronger with your expertise through challenges and disruptions. Could you speak about one such difficult scenario that you've had to face and how your expertise as well as passion helped overcome that crisis?
Yeah, for certain, and certainly there are many in the workplace. But one of the most critical that exists today are scenarios around mergers and acquisition. Whether you are acquiring a company or you are divesting yourself of a company, how you do that, how that occurs, um, could be make or break for any organization. Our ability to work through the challenges of a merger, where we are bringing new pieces in an organization to bear, adding pieces, where they may be complementary pieces, they may be pieces that supersede something we've already been doing and helping us to do better. It's how we manage the people through the challenges and disruptions that are going to be caused by that merger, by the challenges in the merger. And those challenges come from everywhere. It's the people, it's the technology, it's the expectations in the marketplace. All of those things come into account, and it's our abilities to work through those challenges and disruptions through effective communications, through effective dialogue and focus. We need to continue to be focused through a merger or even a divestiture. You can be separating a group of employees, and how you separate that group of employees and put them on the other side of the fence to their acquiring company, can be everything inside of your organization as well. So communicating effectively, keeping employees focused, avoiding the dip in productivity, right? Because you still have expectations, goals that you've developed for yourself in the year, at the beginning of the year. Now you're working through that year, and now you are finding yourself trying to add some people into your culture, into your organization. How do they fit? How do those individuals fit? Feel about what's happening to them? How do you provide them assurance in an environment where there is no assurance of what's going to happen? There are thoughts, there are ideas, there are plans, and we set forth on that journey. But as an organization, we want to avoid any dips in productivity. We want to stay focused on the challenge. In order to do that, we need to ensure that we are communicating effectively, that we are sharing things as we know them, that from a management standpoint, we are getting out there, talking to people. During times of change, nothing worse than a manager or leader who's not out in front and chatting with the people in their organization, engaging in activities that is recognized recognizing emotionally what's happening in the workplace. We can't forget that ultimately everyone is a person, a human being that needs the individual touch of an executive through effective communication and dialogue, but also needs to know they have the touch of an organization whose mission, vision, and values are supporting are things that they can support as well. The biggest challenges of my career have always come in those times of great change when we have been adding through an acquisition, adding a new piece to an organization, and the flurry of activity that comes with that can be mind-boggling sometime and certainly exhausting. But when done right and with respect of all the individuals and contributors as a part of the team, it's a very exciting time.
Wow, I that was a very very nice example that you put out there, and it's a very good example of a challenge that organizations face, especially with handling people. And it also kind of alludes to my next question, because I think also when there are like mergers and there are big changes that are happening, there's also an aspect of inclusivity to kind of think about. And how important is inclusivity when we speak about a thriving HR culture?
Sure. Yeah. You know, inclusivity is a platform inside corporations that doesn't always exist outside of corporations, because we go back to when we come to work without having the ability to choose who's in the next cubicle, who's at the other end of the phone, who's if I'm in operations, who's my finance contact. You don't get to choose those people all the time. And I know that some would say, oh yes, but sometimes we do inclusive interviewing, but that doesn't, they work in a different department. That really doesn't speak to it. You don't really choose who is working next to you in the next cubicle. So our ability to have a culture that's inclusive of everyone is ideal. Everyone is going to go home to their own cultures, right? They go to churches that reflect them. They go to schools sometimes that reflect them. They go to places that pretty much reflect them and their gender, their race, their ethnicity, all of those things. And I get that the world is a little bit more diverse, but still a lot of that is reflected for the most part in each individual. But in the workplace, we are required to work together, regardless of where you've come from, regardless of where you've been. Now you're here, and now you're in the next cubicle, and it's you and I who have to solve issues, solve problems, come up with game plans to make something happen, make it work effectively and seamlessly, regardless of how we may feel about each other. And the workplace is the one place where we come to that we don't have a chance to make it me against you in any manner, shape, or form. We have to find a way to work together. We have to find a way to appreciate the positives that each one of us bring to the workplace, and work through the challenges that each one of us present in our own performance, and that comes through a platform of effective communication, of not only how we speak and how we act, but how we listen, and and the tone set by leadership. An absolute focus on helping managers to appreciate differences, to understand how differences impact the workplace, and how to communicate effectively inside those differences is an absolute to creating an inclusive, thriving culture inside of an organization.
So glad that you touched upon some of those points, just because I think inclusivity now is becoming more important than ever, because diversity is becoming more prominent now more than ever. And you go to a workplace and you'll see so many people from so many different places. You'll see people that don't necessarily see eye to eye, but it's important to still feel included in your work environment. And
Yeah.
this is something that's also key to performance. So there were some aspects that kind of lead me into my next question, actually, which is could you tell me about what goes into organizational development and how important it is not to overlook performance management?
Yeah, I think that organizational development um, exists on a platform of the mission, vision, purpose, values of your organization, and so you're building off of that. And how you build your organization structurally, culturally, are all built off of that platform of mission, vision, purpose, and values. And as you develop, as you pull those structures together and build those structures in a way that managers, leaders feel most efficiently help us to get to our end goal, which is to make money. We can't forget that. I can inside of all of the things that we will share today and HR professionals are thinking about all the time. We can never forget that the business is in business to make money, to do good in the world, but it has to sustain itself, and there's always a profit motive, and the better we do, the better we can do many things, many other things. And so as we build our organization off of a platform of our mission, vision, purpose, and our values, we need to measure it. We need to measure ourselves, how we're doing against that, and performance management is the platform in which we do that. Now, we don't have to run to a formalization of that performance management in a way that says we have to have a tool, and we have to have a rating, and we have to have a time annually where we sit down with employees and say, hey, here's how you're doing. I think performance management is broader than that. Performance management is every day, all the things that we're doing, how we are effectively communicating to someone, providing feedback about how they're doing. Employees want to feel like they're part of a club. They want to be part of the organization in a way that brings them closer. And to do that, they want to know that they're operating effectively inside the goals and objectives of an organization, as well as that mission, vision, purpose, and values that I mentioned. So we want to know how we're doing against that. So it's that time where that manager goes and knocks on an employee's door or goes to by their cubicle and says, "Hey Bob, hey Shirley, you did a terrific job on this." Or say, "Hey, I noticed, I saw your project proposal. Why don't you come in and talk to me about this?" And provide them real-time feedback on that thing, on that project assignment that they have written up. It's feedback, real time. It's sometimes it's uncomfortable. It doesn't always feel good, particularly when we're not getting the level of performance that we expect or we want. But it's figuring out from a manager's perspective how to best communicate that, understanding what are the buttons that push that individual's performance, and tapping into those performance buttons, tapping into the psyche, the emotional psyche, what gets them excited, what gets them energized, what gets that employee excited to come to work. It's tapping into those things, and providing that feedback on an ongoing basis, on a regular basis. Could be through a monthly one-on-one. It could be, in group sessions, acknowledge in a group meeting, a group Zoom call, how someone is doing. It's that kind of acknowledgement and performance management that helps to drive individual performance. Now, there's always going to be a place for some formality in that. So I don't want to throw the baby away with the bathwater. And I don't want to say, don't do annuals. There's a place for them. But how we do them, what's wrapped up inside of that, I think we need to continue to look hard at. But certainly a feedback loop inside of every organization, every manager to their direct reports, all of that is important. And no, it doesn't have to all be very formal, stuffy, but it has to be timely, it has to be genuine, and it has to be direct.
I think that is one of the most holistic approaches and most real approaches to performance management I've heard, because it goes so much beyond just a simple metric or just a simple number. It's about actually giving real feedback and pushing employees, because the end goal is always to improve performance, not just be able to say you're not good. It's about being able to say, okay, you're not good, but this is how we can get you to be better. And I think that's how you make it a win-win. So that's a very, very real and unique dimension that you've picked out there, and I love that, and I'm sure people that hear this will also take that from this.
Yeah.
So,
and the only thing I would change in what you just said was, I wouldn't say you're not good. I would say what you did wasn't as good as we want. Let's talk about how we can get it better. Because everybody brings a value. Everybody has a value. Everyone has good in them. Our job as managers is to get it out. So I agree with everything you said. I just say it a little different. What we did here was not good. What you did here was not as good as we need it. Let's talk about how we can get it better.
Absolutely, and I think that's so key to performance management. That's very, very one of the key areas to it. So. On a closing note, I'd love to know your 3 steps to success for all those that are looking to establish themselves in the HR world.
Success is to each individual's definition. We can sometimes define it in a large context of a holistic look at our careers and speak success. We can, in other instances, just speak to success in particular situations. I particularly look at myself in my career as 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 a collection of successes in particular circumstances. Some will look at it in very broad or holistic terms around around a career in HR. But what I would tell you is that I've had success in creating win-win situations out of the scenarios that I found myself involved in, and that collectively may lead to one defining it as as an HR career. But what I most particularly look at are the relationships and the one-on-ones and the organizational relationships that I've had in building win-win scenarios. And three steps to success inside that. Learn to listen. You never stop listening. Listening comes first. Listening for understanding, for appreciation of what you're into, what you're engaged in, what someone is sharing with. Never stop listening. Listen first. Then it's communication. Always, you are in charge of what comes out of your mouth, the actions that you take, the things that you do. Always think about those things. Think carefully. Think holistically about a scenario. But how we communicate, how you communicate inside of a situation is of absolute importance. So think before you act or say. And finally, play to win. Go as far as you can, giving as much as you can every day. Quality, consistency, and an enthusiastic commitment inside that playing to win. I always try to play to win, and I'll caution that win does not mean that is at someone else's expense. Win means that we have created something that many can benefit from. Play to win, and inside of playing to win, bring quality, consistency, and an enthusiastic commitment to everything you'll do, and you'll be all right.
Those were three very, very valuable areas that you touched upon. And sadly, that kind of ends my questions for you today. But you're a very inspiring person, and you gave us some very, very valuable things to think about and learn from. And I'm very, very grateful that I had the opportunity to talk to you today. So I'm sure our listeners will feel the same way. And thank you so much for coming on here, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.